Hello and welcome back to another casted game on the Age of Bison YouTube channel. I'm your host today, SerSharkDad, and I'm joined here with Platypus Slayer. And today we got an excellent 1v1 game in our 1v1 tournament on the Age of Sunbros Discord with Shatsyager, who we've seen before in previous series, playing the Ottomans this time, and then Sir Young Marshall, who's a young and up-and-coming star in our Discord, and he's playing Italy, which I think is the first time that I've seen Italy in the tournament, at least as far as I've casted. And we are playing on the map Patagonia, which you don't see too often. And I was kind of remarking on that before we began casting, and Platypus indicated that he actually did really enjoy Patagonia. So what are you thinking about this matchup, and how are you feeling about this map?
Well, this is a very interesting map. If you've got the safe, trade line in the back. You've got no natives. You've got water. You've got two kind of choke points, right? This is a map that definitely benefits boomers. Again, I love this map because I love Portugal, and I can get a choo-choo train and all the fish in H2. So very happy. But looking at this matchup right here, both of these civs can get a huge advantage out of this map. Ottoman can use Silk Road, for an example, right? Use the safe TP, boom very heavily. Italy is an amazing water civ. It also has kind of its own version called of Silk Road called Merchant Republic. So both of these boost the yields from trade post if you stagecoach. So absolutely excited for this matchup.
All right, good to hear it. And Italy also has a pretty interesting start. So I'm excited to see how Sir Young Marshall's going to actually play this out and what he's going to be choosing to do. Let's go ahead and take a look over at the decks here. Shatsyager already sending in his 3 villager shipment. And as you said, he does have Silk Road and Advanced Trading Post. So going to be taking advantage of the fact that you get, now I don't know if ATP is necessarily necessary, considering how safe these trade posts are in the back line, but probably good to have anyway. Also taking a look from our allies, pretty nice. You have a setup here for a rush because of these resource shipment cards, but other than that, it's a pretty universal deck. Got some really good upgrade cards in here that are pretty standard, and nothing that's really screaming out at me as fundamentally different, right? Except maybe ATP.
Well, something to think about too. Silk Road also boosts all the resources and crate shipments. So as he sends it now, right, and he sends ATP, he actually might be able to get the entire trade line and stagecoach it before like 5:30, which is giving him an incredible economy boost between the crates and the upgraded trade line. So let's see how Italy responds.
Yeah, and then looking over at Sir Young Marshall, I'm sure he already sent in the first shipment, which would have been capitalism, right? Because we're seeing that coin income now coming in. Advanced politician, so that's a fast stage up option, and lots and lots of mercenary cards, which Italy is known for in terms of being able to have those mercs, and I'm wondering how the Lombard economy is going to fit into that. Uffizi, Basilica wagon, so that's always nice. Lombards increase trickle, but not. There's a Lombard wagon, but I thought that they had another option also in H3.
It's the first card.
Okay, there it is. Okay, gotcha. And I'm also maybe confusing it with the pup, thinking certain cards that they're adding to Italy are going to be present here. A lot of H4 options as well, but this seems like a pretty standard Italy deck with some very light water options. Caravel, Spice Trade is going to be interesting as well. I don't know if he's going to see the need to send that in, but we'll see.
It's actually really good. So Spice Trade with Italy, because of those Lombards, right, you're actually able to convert all of the extra food gathering into faster wood and coin gathering if you macro it correctly. So, the real question here I think is going to be is Italy does have a very robust eco, but if Ottoman's able to take the trade line, Italy's going to have to figure out a way to either get to H3, where, again, those resource shipments can kind of give injections and allow his economy to produce the units to counter Ottoman. Again, Ottoman, very strong units, but very limited roster for the most part. So this is going to be probably a very close game in the early part of it that's going to set up probably the winner of the long term.
Gotcha. I'm following. All right, cool. So Quartermaster coming in for the Ottomans there. We're going to see what he's going to be getting up to. And as for Sir Young Marshall, he's going up with the Medici. Using the Architect pretty smartly to use to build houses. I don't know if he used them to build that trade post in the back. I guess he could have. So, but usually you want to use your Architect just to get the free houses, so that way you're not bothering your
Well,
villagers.
actually, one of the more common, if you're doing like a semi-FF, is to actually go market house, TP house with your architect. So far he's playing pretty standard. Here comes out the Lombard from the age up.
Let's see where he's going to be placing that. Let's see what he's going to be doing. But as you're saying, a greedier economic play coming in here with the spice trade. So probably using that food gathering rate to then invest that back into the Lombard to get extra resources out of it. So taking advantage of that mechanic. Hasn't placed it down, but a barracks now going down. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Ottoman side. I don't know if he's got a forward base going anywhere. I don't see anything. But full greed here. He's got 3 trade posts from that quartermaster age up.
Yep, he's got stagecoach coming in, so he's going to be getting quite a bit of economy from that upgraded TP line. The Raxa's coming out. I would imagine he's going to go Abbas or Delhi second.
Okay, so you are thinking initial push, not moving to a age 3.
He could if he wanted to, but his deck was called Age 2 Aggression, so using caster vision,
It's
I have a little bit of a head up.
Yeah, it's a telegraph for us, right?
Right.
Okay, so another Lombard wagon went into 700 coin into the Lombards. Is that 700 coin each Lombard or just 700 coin in total? I'm
Lombards,
guessing.
okay. Real primer on Italy. There's like a global pool where all the res go into, and the amount of Lombards is how fast those resources trickle through. He does get a batch of musks out. Good job on him. So he is expecting some pressure. He may be seeing all the TPs, and he's thinking, I'm going to go poke around Ottoman, do a semi-FF, use the Lombards in the spice trade, possibly using food to macro my way to age 3. So
I do love to see that that is kind of an indication of a much better and more fluid style of play when you are able to economically invest and you are able to grow rather than investing in some sort of all in age 2 play, and yet still consistently putting out units onto the field. Is always the mark of I think just a really healthy macro understanding of the game. So very good job on Sir Young Marshall's part. But then looking over at the Ottoman side, really healthy boom here. Also in the same vein, he's got his Jans out in the field. These players are pretty much equal. We're going to see some fire exchange here.
Yeah, but those Jans, oof. Yeah, and he wisely decides to get out of there. He was able to scout. He knows now that there's a Rax out, so he can either build to VCA or he can go to 3 and try to, get cannons or some sort of merc shipment. In fact, I think he has the what is it, the Albanian or Croatian company?
He has Croatian company for Krabat and Schiavone.
Okay.
Broken Lance as well, Papal Lancers in Australia. So the thing is that he looks like he's macroed for H3 here just because he sent in the 700 coin shipment and he's definitely got the food for it. So, yeah, Italy economy pretty much immediately taking off here. I think look at that, that food gather rate is insane in conjunction with spice trade. So,
and look at his macro too. It's almost all for food. And with remember, Italy does get the early market tech, so he probably already had steel traps. He's got spice trade. He's got an amazingly efficient economy, even though it may not look like it because everybody's basically on food.
Right, but you can see a coin income of 1,900. It was peaking to a 2,000 per minute. There, obviously, that's not going to translate to that amount, but still healthily gathering coin. Whereas in Schatzjager's case, in the same vein of thought, he's able to kind of stay on top of his macro by using these trade posts and having that stagecoach upgrade. Now, he does have an H3 coming in. He is going up with the Marksman.
It's 4 Abbas.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice.
Incredible value. effectively 8 pop worth of skirms.
And then whereas he's going to go with the Adventurer. So pretty similar age-up options here, both opting for units. And looks like Sir Young Marshall's going to go ahead with the Pavessier. Just to kind of counter that heavy infantry. And
here comes some
little bit of a cheeky push. They may pick up a Vil here. If he sees it, yeah. Okay, but they do have great coats on. So just because they are encouraged, Italy is incentivized to get those mark upgrades for the settlers in the beginning. So that's going to be coming in clutch there. And it looks like this kind of poking and prodding around is going to be amounting to pretty much nothing. But he does now see the extent.
Curious that he doesn't send advanced politicians yet. This would be a great card in Age 3. It's typically when it's sent on the transition from 2 to 3 for Italy. Yeah, he must be saving it. Perhaps he's getting falconets out, seeing the massive Janissaries, and he might be figuring, I don't want to fight that. Not with infantry.
or a transition to 4. I mean, it's not like it's not like he's lacking in necessarily the resources or the ability to get the resources to go to H4. I mean, what, 500 food away, and then just you can invest in a Lombard with one of your cards, or you can go advanced politicians here. We know that Italy definitely has a deadly fast industrial for that reason, right? So
True, but can we check his cards? I don't think he has all the cards necessarily. Yeah, he only has the one shipment, but you do get the guard. I mean, it's an option, and that's what makes Italy such an amazing civ to play. It's very tricky, right? Because there's lots of ways to go wrong with the civ, but it's just a playground of a civ, truly.
let's go ahead and take off that fog war, just see what they can see. So do no vet upgrades in on either or side, but it looks like Sir Young Marshall has a very significant advantage in terms of army composition here. Interesting micro. Go ahead and going to sacrifice one of those Janissaries to kind of hopefully slow down this mass and get the rest of his Jans out. It looks like he does have the 2 Falconets coming in, and as you were predicting, the Delhi and Vet Jan upgrades coming in. So that should be able to turn this. I don't think Sir Young Marshall's necessarily going to dedicate to that attack, though. Pretty content to bide his time. Albanian company coming in for Bosniaks and Stratiot. So it's so nice to see this kind of tit for tat, boxing that's going on between these two players and anticipating the moves here. It doesn't look like either of them are in any way responding, behind the ball, as it were.
Well, one thing that's got to be freaking Italy out, though, is the fact that Italy tends to overscore. And again, this could be deadly too, so I won't talk too much. But long story short, Italy tends to overscore. So if your underscores Italy, that's going to kind of make you nervous, especially against Ottoman. But, this Delhi raid, I think it's about to run smack dab into the middle.
Let's see if any of them end up going down, and let's see if you can see that new shipment that's coming in. He seems to be poking and prodding around. Oh, these villagers are now gathering wood. Is he going to go in and take the bait? No, he is not. He's going to go ahead and get out of there. I don't know if Sir Young Marshall needed to send necessarily the entirety of the mass, because now I would say it's a good time to go ahead and push in with your mass here. Trying to pick up those vills, but is not going to be able to.
And I think Schatzjager listened to you, because I see yellow making its move into the base. So.
Yeah, it's a common thing where it's like, yeah, I want to poke on prod on one side and flank, but then I'm going to go ahead and move in on the other side. It's very classic, and the problem is that a lot of people don't take their groupings and decide to split up their composition. You really only need the muskets to go in and go after those deli, and now he's paying the price because the house is now going to go down, and he has lost now, I think, four vills, maybe 3, 4.
But look, I think he's going to macro for 4. I mean, wow, Sir Young Marshall's showing off a lot of calm and confidence in this game. I mean, look, if you look at his macro, he's not making units. He's basically saying, look, I'll survive. It's going to be painful, but I can make it to 4.
Love it. He's switching up the stances here on the Musketeer, seeing if he can go ahead and shoot down the Falconets. Minutemen now being popped in. Those guys are going to do extra damage to the artillery. 1 Falconet now going down. Stratiots and Bosniaks getting into the action here.
And something to remember, Janissaries, while very beefy, they actually have lower DPS against cavalry than the normal musketeer, so they're just not able to deal with super heavy merc shipments like this.
And that's going to be a wipe. So, I mean, that is a pretty decent economic loss on the part of Italy, but again, their economy, considering the Lombards, are already pretty strong if he already has a pretty good showing here. And now the 1,000 coin is coming in. He's going to be gathering that up and most likely going for an H4, and has now taken the score lead. As opposed to Schatzjager, it looks like he does still have some units. I don't think that Sir Young Marshall's necessarily going to have a successful push if he continues this going, and he is massing more Janissaries. I don't know. Were you expecting that kind of turn?
A little bit, but that being said, I think he caught him out of position, and I just think like you said, his composition wasn't very enough. And this is going to hurt. Ottoman only has 1 TC right now.
Yep, and relatively slow.
Delhi just popped. But
and once again repeating the tactic. Now he's going to go ahead and push with that small infantry mass that he has going on, because the Janissaries are now here distracted in the back. And I don't necessarily think these mercs are going to be able to necessarily defeat this massive Janissaries, and it's probably more important that these cavalry are taken out of play than it is defending this artillery foundry, if I would hazard a guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Obis are pretty good. Oh, he's not paying attention. The Delis pop out. Oh, there's some more Ottoman vills. Oh, see, Ottoman's only got 22 vills. How much does Italy have right now?
28.
Okay,
and
so
has Black Company now coming in. Black Riders and Armored Pistoliers. Now, he doesn't necessarily need the Black Riders because it doesn't look like Schatzjager's too heavy on the hand cavalry composition, but the Armored Pistoliers
more
will
bills.
just make it deadly, for this infantry mass. And it looks like, yeah, like you said, those vills are going down. Schatzjager definitely seems to be on the back foot here. He has a decent Janissary composition here, but it looks kind of tough.
I think he's waiting for the Spahi to come, and that'll be his time to shine. But once the Black, you were just mentioning Black Riders, oh no.
Yeah. See, once again, it's like an It's every move has been anticipatory now, except now Schatzjager seems to be more on the back foot here, just because of that wipe with the 2 Falconets. It's such a precious shipment, and you lose so much momentum and timing once that goes down. And now, oh boy. And don't these guys look just so good? Oh man.
They do. Beautiful units. Not to mention the Armored Pistoliers. Without artillery, he doesn't really have great things to punch through them. I mean, the area effect damage on their guns.
Yeah.
Plus the deflection, brutal.
Totally agree. But we did not see that age 4 coming in as we predicted. So it looks like, I mean, he could macro once again for it, but it looks like that going just went
We got a fight going on in the center, it looks like. Ooh, Spahi.
Spahi trying to get on top of the Pavasir, but not going to have so much luck with the Musketeers. And I love that Sir Young Marshall's kind of proving the viability of Musketeers later into the game, which is great to see. But it looks like these Black Riders are not making it easy for these Spahi to really do their job, and it looks like that's going to also be a wipe. Yeah. Now, however, not without some heavy casualties on the part of Sir Young Marshall, where he probably cannot finish his push, and he is losing some pretty high-quality units here. So I would go ahead and kite that out, see if you can take out this Bosniak, but...
Yeah, here comes the H4.
Who's he going up with? Let's see. Engineer. Yeah. Okay. And
I believe that's the fort, and probably...
An insult to injury, deciding now to send the 2 Falconets. Very interesting that he held back on sending that. Usually you send it a lot earlier, but good on him for him holding that back and instead wanting that to be in conjunction with the H4 push.
Looks like he's going to macro probably for another town center here shortly. Oh, yep, there it goes. Wow. I mean, good job on Schatzjager, too. He's been under a lot of pressure. I mean, especially with a score gap like that. Good job for him to, like I said, keep on the game. But I'll be honest with you, Ottoman, its boom is kind of slow. So Ottoman has to figure out a way to stay alive now. And without a lot of res, and Italy about to hit H4 where it gets its 3,000 res shipment, plus automatic guard fast skirms, it's going to be very potent.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, especially with him having much more of a Janissary composition. And now, like I said, he was stacking. Oh, a little bit of a... the thing with the Taunt 21, I never know if it's a mocking laughter or just like a generic like laughter. I feel like people mean it in different ways. It's kind of weird.
I can tell you, after watching quite a few of Schatzjager's games, that he seems like an absolutely positive guy. And I think it's in a sportsman
self-laugh kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Saw the H4 come in, hit the 21. Yeah, he does not have much, unfortunately, to really respond with this. He does have his trade post to kind of help him out with the resource gap, but even more Janissaries being poured into it, and it's not really going to end up doing much against a bunch of Falconets unless he can have some crazy micro here. Delhi trying to get on top of this, but he still has the Black Riders. They are sort of split. They are trying to take care of these villagers here. Can the Delhi get on top of the Falconets? Let's take a look. Gets one down. He does have a couple Falconets here. Janissaries.
Look at them 12s.
That's it. Yeah.
You love it. You hate to see it, but you love to see it. 12, 12, 12.
That's massive.
I think that's...
And that's the GG going to be called right there. Wow. Huh. Clean game.
Fun game. And like you said, clean, back and forth. Before we even start, breaking stuff down, this was a really solid game. I think both players used their Civ very well. They had good compositions. I think Sir Young Marshall there really showcasing Italy's ability to be incredibly flexible into different things. Like he macroed for 4, but he was able to pivot into these merc shipments and got exactly what he needed when he needed to. He didn't panic when he was pushed. He didn't panic when he was split. He stuck to very clean Italy gameplay. I'm very impressed with his understanding of the Civ. Again, I know we're not like pros. We don't have the highest macro, and micro always, but that was very clean gameplay. I don't think he made any mistakes with his Italy. For Schatzjager, as Ottoman, he probably could have boomed out of 3 TCs a bit earlier. That is it's kind of like a back and forth with Ottoman. Do you push with the Falc? But typically you go Falc 1,000 wood, you get 3 TCs, and you start booming if you're not going to push too hard. That said, brilliant use of Silk Road. I think he was trying to push an H2, and then just something happened. Maybe he got a sense of it. Maybe he saw the deck, realized it wasn't going to be very easy, and kind of backed off. But I mean, kudos to both these players. They both played very well. That's my initial breakdown.
Yeah, I thought the resource gathering would have been a little bit wider and probably would have gone in Sir Young Marshall's favor, but that simply wasn't the case. It showed that the trade post economy was slightly superior, actually. I would agree with your sentiments. I think both played a really clean game. At no point, interesting with the Italy play, at no point did I really see the perceived weaknesses of Italy. I felt like he could have massed units and had been safe in H2, H3, H4. You know, I thought the shipment timings were there. They were on point. They were where they needed to be. On the same side on Schatzjager, I felt like every single shipment was done as sort of anticipatory. It was sent, and there was like a rhythm to it, and it made sense. It fit with the game. It wasn't following any sort of specific kind of thought, you know, of a build order, but instead it was like, well, I need to really strategically anticipate what my opponent's going to be doing. Yeah, no perceived weaknesses on the part of Italy whatsoever. I felt like, you know, he had an H2 mass, an H3 mass. You would think, oh, Italy's going to kind of struggle to get its units out or really get its economy going. I didn't feel that way at all. And then Schatzjager, I guess, yeah, the only thing is like it seemed like there was maybe a bit of confusion as to exactly how hard the H2 push was going to be coming in versus maybe an H3 fight it out. You know, but he did have the boom set up and he was good to go, I thought, you know, and it just kind of came down to, you know, the fact that Cyril Marshall was able to get 5 falconets on him, you know, in a pretty decent timing in the game, right? So in industrial time, when you're massing units and fighting, coming in at sub 18 minutes is pretty darn good.
I think so. You know, again, Sir Young Marshall, relatively new player. He's put in a lot of work, and I think we just showcased it paying off. You know, in Italy, a very complicated civ. There's a lot of kind of bookkeeping you have to do with all the different techs, all the different ways to get villagers, and because there's so many options, sometimes too many options can confuse people. It's why Ottoman is a civ that sometimes I like to play because it's very distinct. It has a very few set of very strong abilities, and you just kind of power through it. So I think also Ottoman lost tempo. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically, as we saw Ottoman more reacting instead of the one dictating the flow of the game after that initial push. So
Right.
I think ultimately that's where the game kind of went astray for Ottoman, even though they did have a very solid economy and a very solid plan going in. So I mean, my hat's off. I enjoyed watching this. Both these players played pretty well. I think this was close to the finals for our best of 16. So both of them showing why they both had a shot at going into the round of 16, and there's 1 to 2 more games for them to determine it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and just kind of even looking at the graphs, you can see that kind of tempo loss just after the 2 falconet loss in that fight, just because Sir Young Marshall was kind of able to have a pretty good mix of heavy and light infantry in conjunction with some heavy cavalry that came in the form of the mercenary shipments, which, you know, just comes down to really good macro, you know, and not to say anything about Schatzjager's, you know, micro in that situation, you know, it's just hard to contend with. And so it just kind of the compounding of decisions ended up dictating that fight more than anything else, which is very interesting to see. Also, completely equal military counts too. So it just shows like that game was actually pretty tight, and both of these players did astoundingly well, in my opinion. Anything else to add to that?
Nothing really. You know, again, I'm sure hindsight's 2020. Schatzjager is probably kicking himself for some of his choices. Sir Young Marshall, probably, if you're watching this, you probably are like, yeah, I won. And every time I feel really good, I like watch a replay and I realize I made a few mistakes here and there. Don't beat yourself up if you see this. You did excellent, Sir Young Marshall. Schatzjager, you too, man. Like both you guys played really well, and I look forward to casting more games with both of you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video and all our other casted videos on the Age of Bison YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the attention. We really like all of you guys tuning in and leaving your comments and joining our Discord. It's been a lot of fun casting these games and going through this 1v1 tournament. We really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed and if you haven't commented on the videos and haven't engaged with us, please feel free to do so. We really appreciate the engagement. and continue your support of our YouTube channel going forward as we continue to grow and just bring more attention to the game. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you in the next one.